Squarespace has really picked up the pace in iterating and creating new features for us, which is great. I'm able to do so much more for my clients with less code, which makes it really easy for them to maintain. It's also giving you the power to do more DIY. But here's where it gets messy, is they're making changes so fast that unless it's your full-time job, it can be kind of hard to keep up. If you're new here, my name is Ellie. I get real geeky about websites and business simplicity and tech. And today I'm going to break down all the changes that Squarespace has made in the first 6 months of 2026 so that you know what you can do with your website and you don't have to go digging for everything and you can know exactly where to find it and how it works. So let's jump in. Okay, so if you want to skip around, let's talk about the categories I'm going to talk about. The first one is going to be e-commerce features. So helping you sell where you sleep and all the different changes they've made in the e-commerce world. The second group is going to be about payments and admin settings that can help you free up time and help you protect your peace, and visual tools that Squarespace has changed. And the third one is around marketing and how you can actually sell what you do. All right, one little tip before we fully jump in. If you hit inside Squarespace, hit the /, you can find any of these settings that I'm talking about. So I will tell you where to find them, but if you get confused at all, go ahead and hit / and search for what you're looking for. All right, jumping in. So if you go to settings and then selling and then cart, we have a new feature where you can have what they're calling a mini cart. And so I have this turned off because I don't have the e-commerce version of Squarespace. And that's because I'm a service-based business primarily. However, when you can have it so that it says added to cart and it shows you a little mini version of what this looks like. And then you have mini cart at the top where it shows everybody what they have bought. And then they can click on that and it allows them to go to checkout or view their cart. Or you can just have the confirmation pop up that says like, this has been added to your cart. So you have those kind of extra features for your clients. This will help drive down that friction to checkout. The other new feature you have if you're a commerce site is a reserved cart and countdown timer. And this is found in the same place, settings, selling, cart. And so you can toggle this on if you have the e-commerce plans, and that allows you to allow them to hold those items, especially if you're somebody who makes a really limited quantity of things or one-of-a-kind items. They can hold that in their cart for a set amount of time, and it displays a countdown timer. It gives them that extra incentive of buy this now or you might lose it. So that's so good. Squarespace has recently added a brand new feature to allow you to better filter your products while displaying them on your store. So they've always had categories, and that you were able to set categories and have subcategories and nest those. And so, but this is going to make it so you can have multiple filter options. So you can have, I'm looking at shirts, but I'm only looking at large shirts, and I'm only looking at blue shirts. And so you can do that under organization. And then you can use tags to do this. There's a little bit more information if you want to click in and learn exactly how the tags and filters work. But this is actually in beta at the moment. So if you don't see it on your site yet, it will be there very soon. Another fun new feature is the ability to have inventory control. So you can now set quantity limits that a specific customer can purchase. So you can say, people can only buy a maximum of 5 of these, and it allows you to prevent maybe scalpers or resellers. It allows you to make sure that everybody gets some. So depending on what you're selling, if you're selling, again, limited quantities of things or limited run of something, this can make it a little bit nicer so that everybody can have a piece of what you're creating. A couple more fun new shop features. So first is, so right here we've got this grid. This is how Squarespace has always done it. And then when you go to edit the grid, you have a little bit of flexibility of design. You could decide how many columns went across. You can decide the shape of the images. You can decide whether you had the add to cart buttons and what that said. So they've been adding to this for a while, whether it was full or inset, which didn't make a big difference for me, but you can change a little bit of these things. But the newest thing you can do is change it to a list. So for some shops, this might make sense. And obviously, I'm going to move my face here. There's a lot of things that I would want to change if I were going to use a grid for my own shop. So I'd want to make sure that my images went back to being square, or that I changed the, that I used the right dimension of images, that I re-uploaded images. I really like my shop as it is, so I'm going to just switch that back. Okay, and the final thing in the shop category that's brand new is if you click into any of your products and hit edit, you can now add sections below. So you can go in and add FAQs, you can go in and add really anything you want. And I believe, let's see, let's test this. If I were to put, say, this at the bottom of it, then that is only for that product. So if I go in and do one for the next product, so this is the How to Hire Help toolkit, and I go in and look at the communication toolkit, it doesn't have that. So you can customize it for each one, but if you're looking to use the same one on a regular basis, I would recommend one of two things. Either going in and, like I did for the How to Hire Help toolkit, use a saved section, and you can add saved sections by using the heart and then to this site, so you can design it out and reuse it over and over and over again. Alternatively, you can actually duplicate products. So you can go ahead and go to edit and duplicate the product. And so it has all the same structure, and then you just have to go and update the image, the title, and of course, do not forget to update the URL. And that would be down under marketing at the very, very bottom down here, and I could change that URL. All right. So we're phasing from the e-commerce into payments. So there's a little bit of overlap, but I really want to talk about this because this is not only applicable to businesses that sell physical products. So let's talk a little bit more about some of these new options. First, payment plans. You've always been able to have subscription payments, and you've been able to do payment plans and other Squarespace features like Acuity, scheduling things through the platform and member sites. However, now in products, you can do this too. So if you go to price, I can say anything over $100, and I can say allow it to add a payment plan. And so for the payment plan, you can decide what you want the deposit to be and how many installments are after that. If you want it to be at regular intervals or custom dates, and then you can decide if you want it to be weekly or whatever you need it to be. And then it just auto calculates the payment schedule for you and amounts. And then you can set a deadline for that initial deposit if you want to. And so that means you can sell, say, your coaching packages or really anything as a bundle with a payment plan, or maybe you're selling an event ticket and it's a pretty high priced event that you're doing. Maybe it's a retreat or something like that. This allows you to have that all managed. It will just take all the payments so you don't have to think about invoicing. Brilliant news. Along those lines, to invoicing, which is on the side here, you can edit. Let's edit this invoice. Under edits, you now have some custom fields you can add. So first off, you can, obviously, you've always been able to update the title and the name of the client and all of those things here. But custom fields, you can add in field names, purchase orders, values, those kinds of things. So that's pretty new. You also now have payment reminders, and that is going to be a game changer. Again, no more manually chasing payments. This will be automated, and you can turn it off, on. You can, it just makes it so much easier, right? And the final thing in group 2, which is about payments and admin, is the ability to set up a payment link. To use this, you're primarily going to be using the mobile app. You can set them up here on desktop too, though, and you can set up a payment link. You can also, you might say Ellie's, let's just say braces. right? So for whatever it is you're doing, you can say it's a flexible amount, which allows them to change the amount. Or you can say, you owe me $50, what this is for, service or physical product. You can add an image if you want, so it might be relevant that you want to add something there. And then if this is a flexible amount, you can set a minimum or a maximum up for that amount. That might be nice because it can allow them to add a tip or something along those lines. Then you can hit save, and then it gives you a QR code. You can copy that link, or you can email it. You can have someone take a picture of it. It's really great. Also in the app now, you can do tap to pay, which is so great. So if you're selling at markets or something like that, people can just tap and pay for something immediately with one of these payment links. So, so good. And so that is also under the invoicing feature. Okay, so now we're here in what I call my sandbox page, so I can show you some of these changes that have been made in group 3, which is the visual stuff. This is the design and aesthetics and being able to just improve the way things look and feel and keep up to date with the way that modern websites are working. So the first thing that you do is mobile overrides. So freaking excited. So if you click on toggle on the mobile version of anything, and then you're in the edit mode, and you click on layers here, you can decide that you want that image not to show up on mobile and it just disappears. Same, or the audio one to just disappear. I can decide if the search field disappears on mobile, so you can turn things off and on based on screen sizes and the design you want. So maybe you have a lot of pictures in one section and it just doesn't make sense to have it, then it's an easy fix. You can also reverse that. So if I decided that I only wanted something on mobile and I didn't want the search bar to show up on desktop, I can turn that off and it won't show up on desktop, and I can design however I want this to look, but it will show up on mobile. So this is a feature that we've had to do with code quite a lot if there was just a lot going on aesthetically on a mobile version. And it's really nice to be able to just do this natively. So the other thing is Squarespace now has a feature that allows you to stack things, and you'll see I just did that. So this is now a stack, and I'm going to turn off the stack. So we have all these beautiful things in one grouping on the website, but look, they're not centered, and I want to make sure that they all stay together no matter what screen size, if it's on a tablet or if they're on mobile. I really want them to stay in the right order. I really want to be able to add things to this page, but know that these 3 things always go in the same stack. So you can do that. So if you click and then hit shift and click, and then this will pop up. You can hit stack blocks, and you can see now they all go together. So now that makes it so much easier for me just to center everything. I don't like how it's stretched this one out, so I can play around with that. It's also made this really small, so it might be worth playing with to see if I can get that just the way I want it. Then in here, you have a lot of features, how much space is between each item, what direction they stack, which is up and down or left to right. I can say that I really want the gap between things to be 60 pixels, and that makes things a little bit different. I decide I want a white background behind things. Like it really is, the sky is the limit. So, and then when I go to mobile, this stuff will still be stacked in the order I said. Let's see. And then up here, you can see there is a reset all overrides, and that will turn you back to just the regular mode. So the next thing Squarespace has added is along those same lines, and some of those same features, is the ability to add more motion and depth. So if you go and you are editing, say the stack, you can see in here there I can adjust the position of that stack. I can center everything, but then you go a little bit further down and you can see this. So you have the ability to animate when these things come in. So further, you can animate just this whole stack and see what things look like when people hover over them. You can say on press, so when someone clicks it, on scroll or on appear. So you have a lot of different settings, but let's say on hover, we want things to jump, right? So that was pretty cool. Then you also have the option to adjust things here. So I can say, oh, I want this all to be 30% opacity. So it'll get a little bit transparent, right? I can say I also want this all to be rotated 90 degrees, and it just does that. I can say, oh, I want it to be 200% on the x-axis, so wider, and 100% on the y-axis. Let's put a couple of these back so that it looks normal when we're doing this. Let's go with a 40% maybe angle here. And then you can skew things or offset things. So I can say, okay, well, I want these all to be shifted because maybe I'm doing something like I'm putting accents on the sides of the page and I really want to make sure it stays real tucked into the sides. Then you can move things over. And you can see that it originally lives here, but it's been pushed over to here. And so there's so much you can do when you are editing. And you can do this with almost all blocks at this point. It's not 100% of blocks, but it's getting very, very close. So I would adjust this maybe to 80%. Let's put this back to 0 rotation, and then let's play with skew. So if we go to 50, that turns it diagonally, right? 50 degrees. If I also put this one to 50, then it makes it real wonky because it's skewing in both directions and it's just like crossed. So it's interesting to think about where you want these things to anchor, all these things. It's just so much fun to play with. The last thing I want to show you is if you go into edit section, you've always had the option to add in these backgrounds and you can put in pictures. You can, in the pictures, you can select from libraries, you can browse backgrounds, you can use stock images, you can create art and moving art with Squarespace's native features here and adjust the features of that and the shapes and all these. There's so much you can do. But the new thing is under video, if you go to add, you can now go to browse background videos and search AI generated videos that might really well align with what you're looking to do for your background. So maybe you are a farmer and you need some really nice pictures of wheat. This is for you. Once you have picked an image, so let's pick this one and add this in. Then you have this lovely background and you can adjust everything you can with it you could have used for any video. So I can say, okay, I want that to be at half the speed and make it just that really slow moving. And maybe I want to add a little bit of a filter to it, a little bit of a blur. And that's that. That's my new background. So that is the last thing in the aesthetics area that they've changed this year. And the final thing is let's talk about marketing. Okay, so the first thing they've changed is that the search engine has improved substantially. So before, if you went to search for something on the website, and like let's just look up one of my blog posts. So like if I put in the word time, that would have been really, really slow. So if I were to now put in maybe, it now will bring up all the things on my website. This would have been so much slower not that long ago. So it's really cool for people to be able to search your site and be able to use that block a lot more easily. This has been a feature that people have been asking for so freaking long from Squarespace, and I'm really excited to announce that it's finally here. So if you're using email campaigns through Squarespace, you can now do drip campaigns. You can now connect lots and lots of emails and set custom timeframes for when they should go out and have triggers that make sense for your business. So you can say, I want to offer a discount and I want that to set up to trigger for people who sign up for our site and hasn't made an order. 2 days later, they get a discount. But then I can decide, okay, what happens next, right? You didn't used to be able to do this. Now I can say I want to delay and then I want another email to go out, right? So when you use action, you actually have a few options. You can send an email, you can add or remove tags, or you can have it manage your mailing list and have them add or be removed from a specific mailing list. That's really useful. The other thing you have is, so you have delays, you have actions, and you have conditions. So you can create branching logic like you can with almost every other email platform out there and really customize the experience for the people on the other end of your emails. So that is such good news. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really, really excited that we can now drip campaign to the people who buy from your shop or sign up for your email list or for your courses. It's very exciting. Along those lines, now you have under contacts, listen segments. You have, this has been really updated lately, and so it auto segments people. You can see it says smart segment, segments people based on customers, repeat customers, people that have lapsed. You also have the option to use bulk features now, and that's really, really great. So you can go ahead and click that, and you can add, you can tag people, or you can export them, or you can do all kinds of things that you couldn't do at once before. So very, very handy. Very much excited that Squarespace is taking their email system way more seriously, because I tended not to recommend it unless people were looking for something really simple and had an e-commerce site that they could plug their products into the emails, because otherwise it just wasn't useful. Okay, that was a lot of different updates and features that Squarespace has added to for us in 2026 so far. So I'm really excited that they are continuing to make things better for us. And I hope that this has helped you figure out how to elevate your site for the next kind of phase of your business. If you're like, whew, my website's behind the times, these are just some of the features that have come out in, say, the last year or two. If you're kind of thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much that I'd love to implement on my website and I just don't have the time, get in touch. I have power hours. I have, we call them now, one-day website tune-ups. And, or you can send me over what you have on your mind. We can have a quick call. No pressure. It's just, I'm always here as a resource. I've got loads on my blog, loads here on the YouTube, and I hope this has been useful. If so, give it a like, a subscribe, all those things.